Hey guys, and welcome back to another live stream in which we will be going through all of the AFLW Fantasy news that is sort of, I guess, come across in the last little bit. There hasn't been too much, obviously. And just answer all of your questions, as this is a critical time for trades as we head into the last 4-5 weeks of the season. There's a lot of hunting for pods. We're sort of changing up the strategy a little bit. The first part of the season was more about getting the cash generation, getting on those definite upgrades, whereas now we're in the part of the season where cash generation isn't necessarily the biggest thing if you've got a good enough team value, but some of you may need to chase a little bit of cash. But most of us will be just looking at trying to maximize points of difference in different lines. And I do think that there's better lines than others to go, I guess, rogue in, you would say. But anyway, this is just an hour or so live stream to go through all of your questions. I probably won't be live tomorrow for team sheets as well, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. So yeah, this will be the one live stream for the week, I guess, and probably going forward. But anyway, before we jump into it, remember to like and subscribe and turn the notification bell on. I am looking forward to the last couple of rounds of the season. We have 5 rounds to go, give or take, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah, 5 rounds to go. And then we will have the BBL season starting to kick off. I expect by that time that we will probably have BBL Supercoach to grab alongside soon enough. But anyway, let's jump across to this. And as we answer your questions, remember to put even more questions in the chat as well. Lee starts us off here with, would you downgrade Harris to window if it meant going Conan to Tilly Lucas Rod? Now, I'm guessing this is under the assumption, because you've named 2 trades here and there's a third trade you have available, but I'm guessing the third trade is maybe a cash generator trade, or a trade that opens up more cash to do that big upgrade of Conan to Tilly Lucas Rod. And I'm guessing that this is the forward Harris rather than the ruck Harris, I would hazard a guess, because I don't know many people would have the ruck Harris in there on their bench at this point in the season. They've probably already profited off of it there. So let's just quickly do that there for me. But anyway, as you can see here, 795k for Harris. You're going to gain the 70k. And then I'm guessing there's another trade, because Conan to Tilly Lucas Rod, if we look here, is about 230k. So I'm guessing there's probably some other trade in there needed to get the extra 160k in some form. I know that you've probably got some salary there. Harris to window. Harris has Essendon, which is probably a really decent matchup. Window has the likes of Western Bulldogs, another decent matchup. I'd probably do that trade because it gets you that Conan to Tilly Lucas Rod, and Tilly Lucas Rod, I think, could push 95 for the back end of the year. It's a 20-point upgrade on Conan, and I actually think that Harris to window is potentially even a 5-10-point upgrade itself. So you're making out a couple of upgrades there. But one of the good things about the likes of window, and I haven't actually looked at the break evens too much for window and others, but window's break even, I would hazard a guess 48. So if she does go the expected sort of 68 or so, a 68 is expected or so to go up, I believe 15. It's expected to go up a 54k for a 68, which, yeah, that's a pretty decent rise in price there. So I would be definitely doing that there. Whereas Harris's break even, I don't know exactly what it is. Let me just see if I can find it here. It is a 61, so it's a little bit higher there. And she's been definitely up and down a little bit further. So, and is a lot more volatile. So that's probably a decent upgrade there, I would say, Lee. So yeah, that answers that question there. You probably, if you were watching along, for those that saw my trade targets video that went live late-ish on the Tuesday, you would have heard my inklings about my trade-ins for this week and what I actually really like, what I probably trying to stay away from. And I do think that upgrading Conan for my side is a must this week, and we should probably just explore the options to go to there. Now, the obvious options are Chaplin, and I would say probably, let's just go to round points here. Chaplin, I mean, Cordner, you could potentially go there. I'm just trying to think, who did I actually go to in my thought process? Oh, yeah, Goodwin. There we go. Chaplin or Goodwin are my number 1 and 2 trade targets, not respectively, because I thought that Goodwin would be better in the role than Chaplin. But those two are the number 1 and 2 trade-ins that I think I should go for. So let's just mock that. Then I'm 45k short, which would then, I think, the best case scenario, and let's just do something of this regard, and let's just look at maybe a hodder there, and then that would leave me 321k to get a ruck in, and a ruck could be anyone. Let's just go to players that I can afford. There really isn't much. That's, well, there's no one that's going to play, but let's just mock up a Hardingham or something of that regard. This is probably something that I would really consider doing Woodlands, because I do actually think that the likes of Maloney could actually do all right. So that's probably somewhere, and I do really like Hodder over most other forwards, and I can get Maloney to Malloy in a couple of weeks' time anyway, or Barnett to Malloy in a couple of weeks' time, that I did say in the trade targets video there. Yeah, that's what I did expect. I was going to say Dunlop was about 160k that you were going to make. So I thought, similar to my thought process there, almost in my trades, was that you have a similar process of, I need 160k from somewhere to make that upgrade, and that's where it's coming from. What are your thoughts on Ellinger, Heath, and Maloney to Richardson, Chaplin, and Two Goods? I wonder if don't know if I like the Richardson move as much, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound absolutely dumb, and I wonder if it actually works out. Richardson 727, and has gone at an average of 65, but hasn't really broken it in a game. Whereas if we go to Carney, I know this sounds ultra stupid after she's just dropped the 30, but I'd almost rather a Carney over that, because if we just take out the top score and the bottom score for Carney, she's got, what's that, 126 points taken away. So that would be 126. So that would be 211 in 3 games, which is an average of 71 or so, 70 and a bit. So I'd almost rather the likes of a Carney over the likes of a Richardson, even though Richardson went off in the last game with a 103, because if you remove those 2 games, her highest and her lowest score, that's a 138 removed, and a 138 removed gets her down to a 189 through 3 games, and that would be 189 would be an average of 63. So she actually goes down. So it's more likely that the outlier effect is going to impact Richardson negatively, and the likes of. So I'm guessing, Corey, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that you do already have the likes of Goodwin. Because Goodwin would be the obvious one, I think, to trade to. But I'm pretty sure from memory that you already have her, because I think that would open things up a little bit, because Chaplin, it would give you that extra 60k. And I don't know if it would do anything damage-wise, but it might. Yeah, it got Goodwin last week, so can't do that. Cordner and McCormack. Now, that could work a little bit better, because McCormack is 866 and Cordner 865. And I don't think there's anyone really in that. You'd be grabbing up Cordner and McCormack there, who are both top-ish liners. If we just go here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th and 6th for their scoring averages for the year, which is still a decent enough. It's not perfect, but it's still decent. And then you'd be able to I think Goodwin will come in quite quickly here, actually. If we look at it, she's played the 7 games so far for the 66.7, but her last 3 have been an average of 88. If we just look at her scoring another 80 odd in this game, that would be 5, 4, 7 through 8, and 5, 4, 7 through 8 is an average of 68 already. So that would push her already above Carney, Thomas, Gutneck, etc. But if she was to go 100, that would be 5, 6, 7 divided by 8, which that is a 70.8. And that pushes her above Conan itself as well into that top 7. And I think by the season end, with 5 rounds still to go, you'll find that that Goodwin probably, I think in all seriousness, ends up around the McCormack level of 76 for the year. But probably in the back end averages 80, and I think that can be a difference maker because she's probably going to average more than Watson for the remainder of the year. I just got a little bit lucky this week, not that she didn't go off. So there's that one there. And yeah, so that's what I would be doing. There we go, all through those questions answered. And then who goes first out of Heath and Conan? Heath and Conan, I would probably go Heath out first, I think, but that is very much a coin toss. Heath 760k average of 65 hasn't. Yeah, I'd probably go Heath just, but that is just because Conan, you're probably going to know what you're going to get. Has Gold Coast. Heath has Essendon, which she obviously could score well, but I just don't know with that. With players returning, if she'll necessarily get that absolute bonkers on-ball roll, which if we just go here to centre bounce attendances and check this, just double checking this. If we look at Heath here, you can see it sort of bounced up and around, and she does have decent on-ball time usually, but it's too up and down that I probably would go Heath out first over the likes of Conan, just because of the role change, interchanging there pretty much every single week. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Fitzsimmons comes back into the centre more, and that kind of not deadens off the likes of Heath, but probably restricts her to a sub 80 score somewhere. But that is that question there. Continue to get your questions into the chat below so that I can answer them for you and give you the best advice for round 8 and I guess in future AFLW Fantasy as we get into the nitty gritty part of the season. So anyway, while we wait for your guys' next questions, I think something that I did talk about for a solid amount of time in the trade targets video was the likes of the, as we do have, I believe, the first a little bit of teams that we can actually go through in the meantime, just for a second. So let me bring up the AFLW lineups because they have come out. Just from what I'm seeing there, it looks to be the Fremantle versus Hawthorn game. So let's just go through that quickly here. So anyway, we got Hawthorn against Fremantle, and you can see here Wales, Stone, Fleming. So Stone named on ball because of the, where is it here? The Bates injury, Butterworth omitted, and then Erdely managed. So if we look at that, you can see not much has changed other than Stone coming in. And then we've also got Daisy Flockhart, who I don't think has played. Let me just look at Flockhart here, mid to 332k. And I will just see if I can bring up any rookie me numbers for her because she looks to, let's just see if I can find something here from Flockhart. Because it looks like she is new as well. So in her junior year for Sandy Dragons, she averaged 15 touches, 1 mark, and 6 tackles in the Coates Talent League. Let's just bring this up. And you can see in her other year, 15, 1, and 3 tackles. And then for Vic Metro, 3 games, 5 touches, 1 mark, 3 tackles, so not the greatest there. So probably not going to be one that scores well. To be honest with you, just going to be, as we look here, Flockard's, physicality, but not really the, it's going to be more of an impact player rather than a sort of quantity player. There's not going to be I don't think there'll be much fantasy work there for her. And I don't think at 179 centimeters, even though she's called an inside mid, I don't think she'll do too much there. It'll take her a couple years to probably develop, but she's in alongside Simons and Everest, and it looks as if McDonough up there as well, leading the line, Gilroy in as well. They may look to rest a couple, but it is, you've obviously got this game, and then we'll see what other games do they have, because they may look at resting a couple throughout the rest of the year. They've got Gold Coast next week. You'd expect Lucas Rod to play there. And then the week after that, they have got, I skipped over them here somewhere. Where did they go? Port Adelaide. That'll be toughish to a certain extent. And then they've got Essendon, and then they've also got the likes of North Melbourne. So they could honestly go 10-2 very, very easily here. They are 6-1 and have a rather skinny or easy schedule to come in on. So I think that they are a really good chance of going 10-2. They're only losing to the likes of North Melbourne. And then for Fremantle, it is just Lally out and Dana East in. Bowers on ball, McCarthy, Newton, Strom, obviously. One of the biggest watches from this game will be the ruck battle there between Wales and Strom. It could really, really help it if they both have stinkers, both go like 70 or 80. That would definitely just bring down the price of rucks and make it a lot easier to get to shoals to someone if you do want to make that maneuver. Lucy Wales has come on like a house on fire this year and is pretty much the lead ruck in the comp. If we go by point scoring, she's averaging 99, and her last 3 have been 98, 122, and 131, where she is just dominating. That is 19 tackles in her last 3 alongside 10 marks. So 3 and a bit tackles, 3 and a bit marks per game, 6 and a bit tackles per game, alongside 27, 23, 19 touches. So that is 42, 79 touches in her last 3. That is almost 20 something again. That sounds wrong. 19 plus 23 is 42. That's 69 touches per 69 touches, which is the like of 23 per game. 27 sounded outlandish when that was her best of the best game for that set. 23 touches a game sounds more realistic, more mathematically right. But then you also encounter that she's had the 55 plus 16, that is 71 taps, which is about 24 a game, just over. So she's basically getting 23 touches, 24 taps, and 6 tackles a game. That's huge numbers. So she's been a really good one, but she does come up against the tougher ruck. So we'll see how she goes, but definitely been a really good start for her. So now let's get back to a couple of questions before I guess this stream hasn't gone too long, but it's been a decent enough stream. But I guess when you get into the later parts of the season, it really can just become an obvious this trade there, and you sort of have options where when the cash generation really starts to fall away. But would you go Woodland too good or Hodder this week? I really like Hodder. I think I showed her run in, and I think that she's one that I'm almost willing to get rid of Woodland because of it. Even though Woodland is a really decent scorer, just consistent, I really do think that the likes of Hodder can go really large. It does suck because I really do want to, it is a matter of just another 10, 15K for me to get the likes of it's 21K or something from the likes of Woodland. So if Barney had gone like a 38 or a 40, I'd be going Barney out to Hodder so easily, but I just can't afford it because Dunlop got a 48 and Barney got a 35. So it was so close to working out, but it just doesn't for me. So that'll be a big question is do you sacrifice a piece in the likes of Woodland, who is averaging on the year 75 compared to Barney 73 and Maloney 70? Do you sacrifice a Woodland to get a Hodder, or do you just go down a rung there and get the Malloy, who's probably still, in the end, if we look at Malloy here, averaging 83 for the year, last 3 73, does come up against a really good opponent in North Melbourne. And I don't know what exactly she's done in the past. If we just bring up Sydney here and look what she's done against North Melbourne in the past. There she is. And we look at this for Malloy against North Melbourne, averaging 58 with a high of the likes of an 84, which was in the last match when she was fully on ball, had 84. But then the match before that against North Melbourne in season 6, she got a 23. So that's interesting. That'll be one to look at, because she's obviously going to score. It's just what level of scoring is she going to be? She probably scores maybe a 60 this week. It's like, Hodder's going to be really good, I think. I think she's going to be really good. I think she's also getting that potential opportunity in the midfield if we look at that. So it's almost like, if we look just here, you can see the 50% there. They have a decent run in. I think she does really well. And we've seen her in the past. If we just look at her scoring, her lowest score this year is a 46. Aside from that, she's got a 37 here, 43. So maybe it isn't actually as good. Maybe she's just come into a purple patch here against North Melbourne, Western Bulldogs, and Richmond. And maybe she's not as good, but we know that she's a heavy tackler. 10 tackles here, 10 tackles here against Gold Coast. 18 in the grand final. I believe that was the grand final win. 10, 12, you can see there, 13 as well. We know tackling has been slightly nerfed with the rules around holding the ball, but we know that she's still a heavy tackler, 8, 6, 5. She's still averaging for her career, probably you'd expect 5 a game. Probably more like, 5, 6 a game, somewhere in that range there. So she's a good tackler there. And we know that scores really well. So, it'll be interesting to see which route I go. I'll probably decide that later tonight or early tomorrow. But I think Hodder is a really good one to go to. But I may do the obvious and go Too Good or something like that, just because Too Good has been tearing it up and been all around the ground, to be honest with you. If we just look at this as well, you can see 71 in her 5 games this year, and you can see just positioned everywhere against North Melbourne for 20 touches, 5 marks, 3 tackles, even had a little bit of time in the ruck. So she's just been everywhere and kicked 3 behinds as well. So that could have been an even bigger score. So just glad that didn't happen. She could have easily gotten to the ton there looking at that. And Essendon do have, who do they have again? Let's just go to Too Good here. They've got Melbourne, which is a tough if matchup. If we go to Too Good, what does she average against Melbourne? She averages against Melbourne in 6 games a 40. And last time out against Melbourne was season 7, where she got a 62 and has a 64 as well there. So realistically, you'd say she probably, when she's good, averages about 60 odd against Melbourne, but she hasn't played them in a couple of years when she's actually been better. She's only played them once when she's been at Essendon, so maybe she's actually better off, and you'd expect her to score around that 70, 75 marker, which would be decent. But yeah, it's a tough decision, I feel like, picking pods rather than going for the sort of obvious upgrades. I could do another upgrade in the defender line and just go, I'm gonna get Chaplin. I'm gonna get like Conan and McCormack up to Chaplin and Goodwin, but I don't know if that's even an upgrade of Chaplin to Goodwin. So there's that sort of decision making there, I'd say. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Even though I didn't really answer the question, I would say probably in order: Hodder, Too Good, and then Wardlaw. And then you've got Grant here. What's the best rookie mid to choose this round under 450K? Well, we can sort this one for you very, very easily. Under 450K, it's Barber. Is she playing or is she not playing for Hawthorn? If we just go to Barber's not playing, so don't go there. And then you've got also Wicksteed, Kavanagh, West, 23 break even this week. I'd probably say based on let's see what's Cooper doing, because Cooper's done all right the last little bit, but only 8K last week, an 11 in there against Collingwood. That was a really bad display. I would probably say, let's just see Vickers here. I just want to see what Vickers has done in her recent games. You can see she's gone 11, 49, 54. I'd probably say Vickers is the best option there. If we just go to Vickers as well there and look at her other numbers here in the VFLW, she didn't do too flashy there either. But you can see when she gets CBA, she's done all right there as well. So I'd probably go Vickers there out of all the and Sheriff also is another one that you could actually work really well with, because she's been one that is going to probably get a decent enough role, but does have a 38 break even. So you could almost wait a week just to look at the role with Sheriff and then grab her next week. Stuffed up last week, bringing in Goodwin, not bringing in Goodwin in and brought in Carney. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Thinking of going Carney to Jess, Jordan Allen, I believe, Geordie Allen. And then also Woodland to Window and Young to Tiana T. Smith. I believe that is a rookie Smith in there. T. Smith. I'm guessing that is which T. Smith potentially? I don't even know. Is that? Surely that can't be Young to... It has to be a forward you would expect, right? Surely. And the forward would be Taylor Smith. Maybe I'm getting that completely wrong because I can't see a T. Smith there. Taylor Smith for Brisbane. Yeah, I thought so. I just didn't know whether it was Tiana Smith, and I was like, that doesn't really line up with the price points. That could actually work, Tiana Smith. We did see Zanka really struggle against Gold Coast, if my memory serves me correct. Let me just double check that. Zanka here. She scored a 32 against Gold Coast. So there is that worry that Zanka's had an absolute stinker. But I don't think Taylor Smith, I should get the name right there. Taylor Smith will have as bad a game against the likes of Gold Coast. Has kicked pretty much a goal a game or goal or two per game. Probably won't have the ability, I don't think, to have the sort of 4 or 5 goals and the big mark numbers. We've seen her have a high of 6 and doesn't really get the disposals to really cook up a big score, but could be a decent pod at 602K and generate some cash with the 70 or 80 score. If we look at the forward version of Smith, you can see a 33 break even. If she goes like 65 or so, 65, 70, she's going to go and go up about 100 or 95K or so, 100. So that'll be a really a decent pod potential. Those are the types of pods that could actually work, but could also fail dramatically. But sometimes at this point in the season, you have to do it there. Sheriff could also be a player, as we said, and then Taylor Smith for Brisbane is as we were talking about. So anyway, continue on getting your questions into the chat below. I guess as we get through this live stream, I'll see how we go for questions in terms of how much longer I'll be on. I was going to try and stay on for roughly 45 minutes to an hour, but we will see how we go for questions. This from Zach is actually a decent one again. I have been talking all year about the Scholes to Strom, but maybe you do it in reverse. At this point, I did say that Scholes has basically outscored Strom for a lot since round 1. If we look at those two, I think Strom has a better expected score in the last couple of weeks of the year. And I know Scholes has had a couple of absolute monster games. But I still would be backing in Strom. She hasn't necessarily set the world alight with a big sort of 160 score, but her lowest for the year is an 88, whereas Scholes has a 48. Is an 88 or an 84? Sorry, an 84. Whereas Scholes has 1, 2, 3, 4 scores under that and only 3 above it. So Strom's lowest score is in the top half of Scholl's scores for the year, or right around the average point for Scholl's scores for the year. So I would still be going with Strom there and keeping that and not changing it just yet. Is Malloy still an option? I actually think she is. I just need to look at the CBA rotation for Sydney, because from what I saw there, it looked like she was slightly out of the rotation the last couple of weeks. If we look here, you can see Malloy is actually been faded out of the rotation, and that's probably not the best thing. She's been isolated forward, and if they're going to isolate her forward, that's not going to be a good thing against North Melbourne, because she's not going to score well, because the ball's not going to get down there, because North Melbourne, although Sydney are going to probably be competitive, I still think North Melbourne stroll to a 4 or 5 goal win here quite easily. It will be competitive for probably the first quarter and a half, and then North Melbourne will have one of those 4 to 5 goal quarters where they just blow it away. So I have a feeling it ends up something like 70 to 40, 70 to 50. Maybe a little bit less scoring, maybe the 60 to 40, 60 to 30 probably sounds about right. But yeah, I do think that she will probably struggle this week just because of the North Melbourne overpowered matchup. They're like a -10 on every single position just because their stats are just kind of hectic in terms of the AFLW. If I just bring up Wheelo to bring up the AFL team stats here and bring up the AFLW, you will see that the team stats for the likes of North Melbourne is quite ridiculous. They're plus 100 on fantasy points on Sydney itself and most of the other competition. If we go differential, you can see that they're plus 294 in fantasy. I should probably make this a tad bit bigger for you guys there, but you can see that they're plus 294 in fantasy. Sydney second. You can see disposals, they are plus 79. Melbourne second, Sydney third. There's only 4 teams in the comp that have a plus 10 or above disposal record there. And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the bottom. And you could see the bloodbath that happened in the Port Adelaide, that they're minus 50 in disposals in any game that they have. Look at the meters gained there as well. Everything they are basically the best at that you can have, other than clangers for some reason. They're not the best at clangers. Oh, wait, no, that's actually, they're not the best at clangers because they should be negative. Turnovers, they're like one of the better ones, I'm guessing. Yep. Contest possessions, uncontested possessions in general. Intercept possessions, they're second. Center clearances, not actually the best. They're only 8th or 7th. Stoppage clearances, they're actually bang out. Well, no, still top 3. Total, they're still top 3. Marks, they're going to be up there as well. Second, Sydney actually first in something. And then you can just see this go on. Contested marks, they're actually about average. Do they have a below average stat will be the biggest question of this. I don't think you'll find them having a below average stat, to be honest with you. Hey, they look to be below average in kick-ins. That's a decent one. That's because they don't concede a bloody score. Stoppages as well. They're the stoppage points, turnover points. Oh, that's points from kick-ins. They're actually not the best at. And then turnovers, center clearing, they're just going to be top everywhere. It is just dumb how good they are. You can't find a stat that we found something that they're bad at. It's hit-outs. Because they don't pay a ruck. They pay every other position around the ground to score well. And do well, so they're bad at ruck hitouts. That's about it. And then you've got obviously bouncers, 1%ers. They'll be going to be bad at that. They're below average on 1%ers. They're doing something bad. But anyway, that's enough about that. To be honest with you, you can just see every single differential stat they're going to be ahead on. So that says enough. Do you give the Western Bulldogs a chance against Port? I would say so based on those statistics. I'm sorry to go back to them. But if we look at the disposals, Western Bulldogs should win it because Port Adelaide played this really weird contested brand of footy that I don't necessarily agree with. So I think that they will just give up enough of the ball and Western Bulldogs will do really well. I think Blackburn's been on a tear recently. If we look at last 5 games as well, for this as well. You'll see Port Adelaide minus 42 disposals and Western Bulldogs minus 7. So not much difference there. But I do think that the Western Bulldogs do have a really good chance, if not should actually be winning that game. Brought in Gardner last week on debut for a 171. Yeah, she went absolute berserk. I was disappointed that it wasn't the likes of Noffy going big, because obviously the captaincy, and I don't think anyone has an effective captain of 200%. So you're always going to be winning if you had the captaincy on Noffy if she was the one going large. But yeah, Gardner, she went off. I know a lot of people actually decided to trade her out. So usually when you actually, I've seen that back-to-back weeks where people have said, oh, it's a good week to trade out like a Bowers, or a good week to trade out a Gardner. And sometimes the thing is, especially mid-round, you don't trade out your premiums for taking a score, because then you're just going to have to fix that trade up. And there's always a chance that it can go really, really bad. That is different to actually just in the men's game sort of taking off a premium and putting them on the bench. That is totally different to trading it. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people actually traded Gardner out or something, and she's gone large and basically covered the 2-game line almost in one game. Like, she's going to be averaging 85.5 from the start of next game, the start of this week, for a 2-game spread against hard opponents. So for her to almost cover what she needs to do in 1 week is absolutely huge, because she's basically battling Presparkers over 2 weeks. And she's covered Presparkers by 70 odd points. Very happy. Barnett or Woodland out. I would say Barnett out first over Woodland. Woodland's role still looks all right. 56% CBAs last week. So I'd still say Barnett out over Woodland. I think that I'm going to have to look at strategies and players to get, as we say here, that I was a little bit cheeky about that, Corey, and giving you a little nudge there about the Bowers out. Yeah, that just is probably a lesson learned there about not necessarily trading your top liners. But it looked good once you had the Centra 108 sort of looped on, etc. But it just failed in the long run. And I think some people get points happy. And this is no dig at Corey, because you've come up with so many solutions for me. But yeah, sometimes mid-round you can make rash decisions that you don't actually look over for a day or two, and they come back to bite you in the long run, and that was probably one of them. But oh well, you can always learn from it for next year. Could either go Cynthia Hamilton, Kaufman, Bannon, or Mowbray instead of Smith. Not sure. Let me just see. Kaufman is a name that rings a bell of someone that could go large, but 57 is not really there. If we just look at as well at the likes of Bannon as well, I don't think she's gone large either recently. 52, not really. Cynthia Hamilton doesn't fill me with much confidence. Mowbray, 608k, 45 average, up 85k after a 61. Has Mowbray's role changed? Because that could be an interesting one to look at there. Is Mowbray's role change or just an upgrade? No, not really changed. So yeah, no. I think Smith is almost the best matchup because of the Gold Coast matchup, and you just got to hope. At this point, sometimes you just got to hope and pray, and even though it's not really what you want, you sometimes just got to hope that it works out. I think you're in one of those positions. What would you say are the top 6 for the defense and forward line? Top 6 for the defense is pretty blinking obvious, I would say, in a way. Like, not to be rude, but I would say that the top 6 defenders are obvious. I will show it on this page here, and we will go defenders. Top 6 defenders: Lucas Rod, Chaplin, McLaughlin, Watson, McCormack, and I'd say Goodwin for the rest of the year. That would be my top 6. If you wanted to include 7, I would probably say Cordner or Carney. They're going to be awfully close for the 7, but I think that's a breakaway top 6 by 5 points. So that's the defenders. The forward line, Goldsworthy, Ham, lock them away. They're going to be top 2, I think, by a little bit of a distance. Damn it. And this is where pods can be pods. This is where you're looking for pods, because Malloy, how much is that North Melbourne game going to damage her? I think she'll be top 6 for the rest of the year. Yeah, you could actually take a stab on Stone with the Bates injury. Did she do an ankle or something? She did like a long-term, or was it a hamstring injury that she did? You could actually do that as well. I did see that, Lee, in the chat as well. Still think Molloy is going to be top of the top 5. I don't know what exact order she'll be in that because of the damage because of that North Melbourne game, but she probably still goes 55-60 in the North Melbourne game. Is Woodland still top of the line? Because this is where they're so close in terms of, I see is Maddie Gay potentially coming back? Is that the Essendon injury list update? Essendon Bombers AFLW injury list. Let's look this up and see for that. Maddie Gay's a test. Why? Why do you have to be a test? Damn it. Why do you have to be a test? Because you know what sucks about this? And I got told this midweek as well. You need 6 games to classify for the actual average for next year. So that means no matter what happens with Maddie Gay, she's going to be priced off her 2024 year, which means that she's probably going to be massively overpriced. Even if she goes and averages 40 for the rest of this year, she's going to be priced basically at her 2024 numbers, which if we look at Maddie Gay for that is roughly, I believe, an 80 odd or so. So yeah, that sucks. Why does she have to be a bloody test? Because she's only going to get like a 4% discount or something like that. And a 4% discount on 82 is like 3 points, 3.5 points. So yeah, that's why I'm pissed off about that, because we wanted to cheat next year. So yeah, I think Molloy is still top. Woodland, what she done last 3, still 72. Would still say that that's probably going to be top. She does have a 51 in there, but that's sort of an outlier, I feel like. So Woodland's probably still going to be near enough top. So I'd still be there. Goldsworthy, Ham, Molloy, Wardlaw, you think is going to be top 6. That's interesting. Wardlaw, what's she done last 3? I mean, you could say that. I just have a feeling she's going to have bad matchups and then suddenly it's going to fall apart. If we look at the likes of St Kilda for their matchups, they have got GWS, good matchup, Collingwood, good matchup, Carlton, horrific matchup, Kangaroos, horrific matchup, and Western Bulldogs, horrific matchup. But they do have 2 really good matchups and then they come into Carlton. That could be a decent pod because of the way she's been going recently. But yeah, if they have a bad game and she doesn't touch it, then that's really, really tough one to go against. But yeah, I do understand the thought process behind that. Just don't think she will. I think it's probably going to be Ham, Goldsworthy, Molloy, Woodland, and then probably Hodder and Too Good, I think, is where I'd go for it. I think the only difference between me and Corey is that I think Too Good... Sorry, who did I say? That Woodland sneaks in over Wardlaw in terms of the top 6. But yeah, mostly similar there because I think it's very, very similar across, I guess, these ones here. Because in the end, it's not really a massive, massive matchup that's a really, really good matchup to have. I know that the Gold Coast forward matchup looks good on paper, but I don't think it's as good as, say, a ruck matchup. And I don't think Barnett has the best ruck matchups to come in future, to be honest with you. So that may be a trade out in the near future. West Coast, St Kilda are positive-ish, and then has Richmond, Gold Coast, and Lions. So yeah, I think that she's going to be a trade out for me soon. But anyway, that I think is a good place to end the live stream. If you guys did enjoy, remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn the notification bell on so that you know when I upload. The video for my team reveal will probably come out maybe 3 or 4 p.m. tomorrow. So keep your eyes out for that, I would say. And then I guess just enjoy the footy that is on tomorrow night as we head into some AFL-less AFLW weekends, which will be a good thing as well, so that they actually get spaced out properly and not just dammed up everywhere and which away. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed that, remember to hit all those buttons, and I will see you guys in future live streams.